Hey guys, welcome back to our channel,
Plots with a Twist,
where we discuss books
amongst other things.
And today, what we doing?
Got a tag for you guys.
So we just been stealing tags.
Mm-hmm,
no one tags us. Maybe they do, but we're very spotty. Okay, yeah, we're very spotty when we watch YouTube. So maybe we have been tagged and we need to go back and watch. Sorry guys if you tagged us, but we just see a tag that we like and just do it. So. Another one from Nakia's Hideaway. Shout out to her. She was tagged. And so she didn't tag us, but we tagged ourselves. So we thought it was a cute little tag to do. And that's the, the first time tag.
Yes.
So,
let me get the questions ready.
Let's get into it. All right.
So first question is for the first time tag. The first book you could not stop gushing about. What was that for you?
For me, different stages in my life. Mm-hmm. The first book, I was older where I could vocalize that, hey, you need to read this, was Harry Potter. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to move on to the other stages. Yes, I do. We're going to move on to the other stages. So when I first reattempted my reading journey was The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. I told everyone you need to read this. This is so good, blah, 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 blah. Like, I was talking about that book nonstop. I was talking about it at work. I was talking about it at play, like wherever. So that was one of the first books as well. And then when I paused and then restarted my reading journey more recently with A Man Called Uwe by Frederick Bachman. We talk about that book now. Yeah, so y'all should have known that was going to be mentioned. So yeah, those are mine.
So for me, I took it back to like when I was in school, because I was like a reader when I was in school. When I was younger, I was a big reader, like young, like from when I could read up until I feel like till I finished high school. Now after high school, I didn't read that much. Like I don't know what happened, and then I got back into it. But back in those days, like my favorite books were, and I always would tell people, even now I would tell, like up until like probably like when me and Kristen started reading, I would tell people to like read those books. And they are The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. Old school book. Everybody read it in school. I had to read it for school. It was the tea. Like, it was the best book. They made it into a movie, but the movie wasn't that good. But the book, it was a lot. And then The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. Y'all know she's one of my favorite authors. She hasn't come out with anything in a long time, but she's one of my favorites. And that was like one of my favorite books. We read that in the 7th grade with Miss Roth. And and I remember it's one of those books that like, it's kind of like in vignette style, so kind of like poems or whatever, but she was talking about some real life things in that book. And I just remember like loving it and just like wanting everybody to read it. So yeah, those were those for me. All right, so next question. Thank you next. The first book you wish you didn't finish.
So I try to hang in there with books, regardless of how I feel about it. I am not a person. I think right now it's because of the channel. Like I'm more intentional about finishing books, so I try my best to not DNF. But that doesn't mean I don't DNF. I still DNF all the time. Just a little less frequently than maybe you. But the first book, I mean, if I think back to a book I really regret reading, was back in the day with my reading journey starting again. I bought this book. I told y'all this. I bought this book, read it, returned it. And that was I Love You, Beth Cooper by Larry Doyle. It was turned into a movie that sucked. So yeah, no. Wished I just was like, you know what? No. But other than that, more recently, it's not the first, but more recently, was The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. I enjoyed it, but something about it, I'm still confused. And I just really wish I would have started with maybe some of her other books that were more, a little bit easier to follow. Because this one, I'm confused and it's about to be a series.
Right.
And now I'm like,
well, maybe the series will clear
I'm here now. I can't stop it. So I just wish I'd just put it down so I didn't have to feel that pressure as she starts to produce more stories. But I think I'm okay now. But I just kind of wish I would have had on that, and then that way if she came out with another one, I would have been like, I don't care. I ain't finished the first one.
So for me, at first I put a book that like I really did not finish, because I don't finish books that like, it's nothing that I wish, because
you just do it.
I will just not finish it. But I will say there's a book that I read, and for me that the first book that I like really, really wanted to finish but just could not do was Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, and I forget who wrote it. I need to look that up. But y'all know that book, and they made it into a movie
with Oprah.
Yeah, but child, it was boring. Couldn't get into it. Then
really?
Like, and I read like halfway through, and I just could, and I was really like trying to finish, and I just couldn't. I don't know, and maybe it was like a lot of, I don't even think it was a lot of like, it was a lot of historical talk, because of course like it's a true story, and it went over like a woman's life and what she went through, but it was just, I don't know. So, but outside of that, like one book that I could have like done without, and I think I said as much on this channel, was Call Me by
Emmanuel,
it's the name will come to me later, but y'all know that book too. So yeah, it just wasn't giving what they said it was gonna give, and I just felt like, yeah, I could have done without it. I don't know, it's just very angsty and very like, yeah, I don't know, but yeah. Okay, so moving on to number 3, Working Wonders, the first book that helped you through something hard in your life. What you got, Kristen?
So I don't really read when I'm going through something hard in my life, like,
yeah, like get hard, you can't read.
Right. I can barely read now, and I'm not going through anything. Right. So I really don't turn to books. I usually turn to music or shows.
I will turn to TV when I'm going through something.
Liquor, or just playing.
Not listening to all your
right. But other than that, I just forced myself to answer this question. And maybe it was more so because other people have said this book has helped them through tough times. Mm-hmm. So I'm projecting, or what is it when you take on? I'm lying. And that is Eat, Pray, Love by
You wasn't going through nothing. Well, I don't know what you was going through, but like, girl, you wasn't.
Let's read it. And I was at
It
work.
Made you want to go through something. That's what it was.
That might have been it. I was going through,
come out on
working
the other side
every day, being bored at work,
right?
And trying to find a reading buddy. I found Asia.
Yeah,
so,
we kind of met during that time. We used reading,
so,
yeah.
What you put? Nothing?
I didn't put anything because I feel like I don't. Well, reading in itself just helps me through stuff. So I don't think there's anything specific like I read while I was like going through something. I haven't suggested books like, you know, in therapy and stuff or like certain things, but I don't know, it's not this,
If I'm in therapy for something, the last thing I want to do is read. Like,
yeah, I just feel like something, but you know how like
read the book that's gonna tell me about myself so I can feel worse about what I'm going through. Like, I don't know.
I just feel like I do read to escape a lot of the time. So anything I read helps me. Like if I'm going through something and I happen to be reading a book, it's gonna help me because it's taking my mind off of whatever I'm going through. So that's how I look at
just
that.
Reading.
Yeah, just like reading. Like so, okay. Yeah. I do feel like when I had read Twilight the series, this is before it was all the rage. Before they made the movie, before the movies were even talked about. It's the rage. People
I mean, I guess like yeah.
But like I feel like I was probably like going through something then and like was kind of like. But not like nothing. I don't know. But yeah. So anyway, that's that. Next question. Don't Turn Out the Lights. The first book that gave you chills. Little scary situation.
I don't really read horror.
Me neither. Or watch it.
I think I read a lot of psychological thrillers, but as far as a book being categorized as horror, I don't typically read those that I'm aware of. Typically, I'm drawn in for the psychological aspect versus the quote-unquote horror aspect. And a lot of them it's not even like supernatural. It's just, you think it's supernatural, but it's the explanation is actually something else. So maybe this year I will challenge myself around Halloween to read some horror. I do have a nonfiction book I do want to read. I've been wanting to read for some time, and that's what is it? The Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Oh yeah, we were supposed to read that.
So we'll read it this October. But
that's a scary book.
I don't know. It's got some scary. It's like this guy is investigating this town where these people. It's like some events happen in this town where it's like really weird.
Okay.
And some of it is like.
I've had that book for years, and I just didn't
know what about. Other than that, so I guess elements of these books. I just wrote down a whole bunch of psychological thrillers. So elements of these books, I guess, gave me the chills, but. Reading, I just put it down if I start to get scared.
Right, I'm not reading.
So I'm like, okay. Like, what you do? Cover your eyes like reading?
I say I'm not reading nothing that's gonna try to scare me.
I was gonna say
I don't like horror.
So I put Elements of Dark Matter a little bit by Blake Crouch. It wasn't scary, but elements of it was like,
it gave you chills.
Elements of Dark Places by Gillian Flynn gave me chills. Other than that, that's really it. Maybe Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. So I'm just throwing books out there. I'm just naming books, trying to answer this question. I should just move on. Yeah, I'm going to move on. So yeah, I don't really read horror. Yeah.
Me neither.
So what you
put? The only book I put was The Outsider because I read it and it kind of had like scary moments, but it didn't scare me like to the point because we had watched it first. We watched the series first.
No, the show.
The show was scary a little bit. Yeah, show very much watch between you. But the book, like, since I already knew it was happening, but the way it was written and stuff, Stephen King, he does his, and I listened to the audio, so I didn't read it.
Girl, I saw this thick Stephen King at Goodwill yesterday.
He likes to write thick books.
It was what, Insomnia? So it's part of, I'm assuming it's part of the Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
not reading it.
Like, bam.
So yeah, that's it for me. But I don't read horror as a genre, movies,
I'm going to challenge myself this year. I do want to read some horror.
Like
I mean, Mexican Gothic was technically horror.
Okay, so number 5. Can I Get My Time Back, Please? The first book that made you angry.
So I remember I was home from college and I was on my mama's sofa and I was reading this book and I was so mad. And I would close the book and I'd go to sleep mad. And I was just angry because I'm like, how dare y'all not believe this guy? How dare you not believe this young man? He's telling you his truth. And you're going to shun him over this woman who comes in and try to act like she's Dumbledore? Yes, I'm talking about Harry Potter. Yes, I was pissed reading this book. And that's the 5th book in the series, The Order of the Phoenix. What's the little frog face looking woman? I can't even remember her name. I should know that. Like, it was seared in my brain for so long because I was so mad reading that book because they was like treating Harry like he was a liar. That's one thing Harry did not do. He did not lie.
He give me liar.
I just remember I remember having a visceral reaction to reading that book. And I, to this day, remember being angry just because of everything he was going through. And he really had no one to lean on. Like, his friends, they were there for him, but they didn't understand what he had been through. This was a point where he saw that Voldemort had returned, and he was the only one who witnessed this. And he was telling everybody, and nobody believed him. Like, they was doing all these reports about calling Harry a liar. And then Dumbledore stepped away. So they had this new headmaster. And she was all like on this anti-Harry crusade. Like, I was angry. So that's the first book I remember just being angry. I don't know if that's the basis of what this question was supposed to be for, but I was mad.
I don't have one for real, but I put down Luster because I just felt like, yeah, it was like, and not to make light of what she was going through in the book, but just like, it was just a situation.
You can change your situation.
Yeah, it was just like making me angry that she was putting herself in these type of situations and like, child, what's going on? So yeah,
Queenie.
No, but I like Queenie. I like Queenie. Queenie was more funny. Hers was just sad. It's just like, girl, why you don't have to go through this? Right. But okay. So next question, number 6, is out of your comfort zone. The first book that made you fall in love with a genre you never really explored before.
So for me,
you like every genre anyway.
I will try.
You'll dabble.
I'll dabble. I don't like every genre, but I will dabble. I am a dabbler. I don't. If I've heard it's good and it's a genre I never tried before, I'm willing to, take up a gander. So for me, a genre that I said I don't think I could like anything in that genre was always historical fiction. History was one of my least favorite subjects in school. So when I think of a genre that involves history, I'm like, ooh.
I can see that.
So never thought I would enjoy it. So I never gravitated towards books that were described as historical fiction. Now I know that historical fiction doesn't have to be, super rooted in history.
It can still be fun.
It can still be fun and exciting, and the history can be in the background. Now I know, but if I'm thinking about the first time and thinking about genres, I was like, ooh. And the first book, if I'm looking at my list of books, the first book I think that I attempted I finished, that was a historical fiction book, was City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. Read that a few years ago, and I was like, okay, I'm not mad at this. Yeah. So it was very much rooted during World War II. So that was very much there in the background. You felt the essence of the past and everything she was exploring. But that was the main focus, right? So that's when I was like, oh, I can do historical fiction if it's going to be like this. So that's one of the first books I recall just introducing me to that genre. I might have read a historical fiction book prior and just not realized it was historical fiction. But I think me tying the genre together to a book, that was my first time that I recall.
Okay, so for me,
what is it?
I put Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin because I have never been like a super fantasy person, but now I'm thinking like I read Twilight. But anyway, it's different. So it's different because it's dragons and stuff and castles. So I was never into like stuff like that, like fantasy, science fiction, which I wouldn't consider that science fiction for real, but it's just fantasy. But yeah, just that whole story. Like if somebody would explain Game of Thrones to me, and then like I would have been like, I'm not reading that. Like what? But my friend had told me, I think the show was out at the time, but I didn't watch the show yet, and I was just hearing the buzz. The buzz was coming for Game of Thrones, and I asked one of my friends, and I was like, have you read Game of Thrones? Like, have you seen that show? And he was like, read the books. Like, I'm telling you. I'm like, I don't want to, like, it's about dragons and stuff. He's like, no, like, read the book. Like, it's good. So started reading the books and could not put it down. And I remember I was in sales at the job.
At a job.
And like, child, they was making fun of me. Like, why are you reading these books? Why are you reading these thick old books with dragons and stuff on the cover? Like, why are you reading? I'm like, no, guys, listen, it's good. It's about this.
Hear me out.
Yeah, that kind of really like opened me up to like different like science fiction. But I will say Dark Matter too. Like that got me into like a little more science fiction, magical realism, whatever you like to call it.
Yeah.
So yeah, those two books for me like kind of like opened my eyes because I was not a science fiction fantasy girl, like at all. Didn't like Harry Potter. I watched Lord of the Rings, but would I read the books? No. So like that was it. It opened me up to that. Now I can be immersed in your world.
Yeah, I was a fantasy. I mean, I watch fantasy shows, things like that.
Yeah,
so I was a fantasy girl before I started reading. But
right. Okay, so number 7, Mirror Image. The first book that made you feel known, made you feel seen. Well, I said seen, but
what book you put? I just again forced to feel like I need to answer. I don't look at a book and be like, oh my God, this is me. This is my story.
Not even your story, but felt like, okay, like you can relate. Like, cause you ever read stuff and you be like, don't nobody.
But then it goes off the deep end and I was like, I would never.
Yeah.
Like when I was like the podcast girl you sent me about the true crime. And I was like, oh yes. Yeah. But I would never like be like, oh, this is going to be the thing I investigate.
Yeah.
So I would say maybe the conflict of worlds and the juxtaposition of her life and, living in the hood, but going to a STEAM school and really having that conflict kind of come to play in The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas may have made me feel a little seen, because not to say that was my world, but I can definitely see some of that inner struggle as I entered more diverse situations and trying to just having that conflict of who am I, what side do I go on, what do I support, things like that. That inner conflict of just discovering who you are. I don't know. Am I trying to make myself sound like all profound?
No.
I am. Yeah. But yeah, I don't tend to read books that I like see myself in. Like the point is to not. because then I'd be depressed. Like, oh my God, this is me. What am I doing? Like, that's how I would be.
Okay, so for me, the first book that I read, I'm not gonna say where I felt like known or like, yeah, kind of known, but just where I realized that this is the first book that I read where I realized that people talk about that there are writers out there that will talk about girls that look like me. Because a lot of the books I was reading, very much Judy Blume, very much at the time, like, you know, Babysitter's Club and stuff like that. Then I read Fly Girl, y'all, by Omar Tyree. Have you ever read that book? Kristen's never read it. So basically, it's a book. It's one of those books, like, every girl had it. Like, it was a pink cover. Every girl had it under there. They was reading it. Like, but everybody was reading it at the time. And it's basically like this story about this girl, like, after her 16th birthday, she grows up and, like, she's it's an urban, like, story, urban literature, and she grows up, I think, in Philly, and she is like middle class black family, and basically after her 16th birthday, she just starts feeling herself, and, like, basically, like, coming of age story, like, you know, she starts meeting boys and getting it. It's the 1980s back in the day, so it's just a lot of debauchery and stuff going on. And that's not the life I was living, so it's not like I felt like, oh yeah, this is me, but just like the language in the story and like how they talked and like what the things they were doing and stuff, even though it was the 80s and I was probably reading this in like the 90s or something. No, I probably read it in the early 2000s. Yeah, I probably read it in the early 2000s. And like I just felt like, oh, okay, like they actually make books about like girls about, you know, like to do the same stuff I do or like talk like how I talk at the time. So yeah, it was just, I don't know. That was the first book that was just like, okay, like this is cute. Well,
I didn't read it.
You should read it. It's a good book.
No, I was gonna say this other book, but am I making up a book? A Hero Ain't Nothing But a Sandwich. Is that a book?
I feel like it is a book, but I never read it.
I remember talking about that in middle school. Feeling like, wow.
Not feeling like wow.
But I don't recall reading it.
I'm dead.
All right, what's the last one?
Fly Girl. Okay, so last question is Hop Aboard the Wayback Machine. The first book you reviewed on BookTube. We can answer that together because we both
did it together. So the first video we filmed, we didn't post.
Yeah, because I didn't like it.
She felt like she looked drunk, which she was.
It's because Kristen always shoving wine down my throat.
Okay. But so we never posted it. I had edited it.
I know, we never posted it. You know, had me on the internet, my first video looking crazy.
So our first one we actually posted. Oh wait, that was Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. Mm-hmm. We had just finished it at the time. We was like, let's get into some reviews and let's drink but we never posted. But the one we actually posted was The Woman in the Window by AJ something.
I feel like it's Flynn, but it's not probably. AJ Finn.
Mm-hmm. It is AJ Finn. I'm like, is it up here? Because then we can look. But
yeah, AJ Finn.
Oh,
so yeah.
So that's the first one we filmed together. I mean, well, our channel is together.
Yeah.
But that's the first review we filmed.
We ever filmed.
That's actually one of the first pictures we posted on Instagram of the book. So yeah, we need to kind of go back and watch the movie.
Yeah, they made a movie with it and like.
Yeah, we even said like try to foreshadow and be like, oh, a movie's coming out. Check out next year. Yeah. We're gonna do a comparison. Never did it. Never did it.
If you guys want that, let us know. We don't do that probably, but.
We're bad. We're really bad at planning videos. We're really bad at planning our schedule, as you guys could probably tell if you've been with us for a while.
It's all over the place.
It's really not my fault.
My arms look a different color, but it is Kristen's fault sometimes.
How is it? Okay.
I'm not explaining how she brought my So anyway, yeah.
But yeah, no, we but in all seriousness, we're gonna try to do better about planning videos, about planning our schedule a little bit better. But yeah, that was just the time we really just wanted to start reviews, and we thought
that's what we were reading at the time.
Them out, but we did, you know, we
kicked them out a little bit.
We're gonna get back to some reviews too. But yeah, is that it? That's all.
Yep, that's all the questions. So we tag. Who you want to tag? Everybody that's watching this video,
and that's something else we're gonna do better. Actually, tagging people.
Yeah, but I just feel like if you watch the video and you feel like you want to do a video on it, do it. Like, and just let us know so we can watch it.
But we have to build connections in our YouTube community.
I feel connected to y'all.
I know. I've been responding to your comments. We respond to all the comments. Well, all the not obviously bot comments. Other than that, yeah. So we got a little community, but we're gonna do better about tagging people specifically. But shout out to everybody who do the tag, because we're going to check back and see. We're going to be better about that as well. But yeah, we tag everybody who wants to do the video. Leave any comments below regarding any of your answers to these questions. What's some of your first book sensations that you felt with some of the books that you've read over the years? Like the video. Subscribe, ring the bell. We'll be back.
See you next time.
Bye.